Awesome, thanks Anastasia. It's interesting. I actually had a hard time preparing for this. I mean, we've been asked the questions of what is the future of work? What is our role as young people in the future of our planet? And these aren't easy questions for us to answer. And I know that I won't be able to. But I believe, and actually this is my objective, that at the end, I'll give you at least one idea and perhaps some inspiration on what you can do, as well as how you can help build a more prosperous community. Because ultimately, that's actually how systemic, sustainable change happens. Not as a tidal wave, but actually through unrelenting, incremental change over time. And it starts at the grassroots, driven by community leaders like yourself. My name is Vuong, and I'm actually thrilled to have traveled from across the Atlantic from Toronto, Canada, to be here with you, to not only share best practices that we found to work back home, what hasn't worked, but also to hear from you, to learn from you, and frankly, to take your best ideas home. Because in Canada, we also wrestle with challenges of unemployment, disempowerment, and disengagement. And we're fortunate to be a wealthier country led by our feminist in chief, Prime Minister Trudeau. But we face similar challenges as everyone here, because poverty, pollution, and many other challenges know no borders. So therefore, our solutions and our partnerships for the goals should also reach across borders. And I really must thank the Vatican, Dr. Parker, Monsignor Sanchez Sorrento, Professor Sachs, for your incredible vision, but also your leadership in bringing us together and providing us with the forum and the opportunity to do exactly this. So at the Agency for Public and Social Innovation, we are using social enterprise as a vehicle to build safer, healthier, and more prosperous communities. And we believe that everyone has the potential to create change if they have the support and resources to do so. And we help them to do that through investment and mentorship, research advisory, and policy advocacy. For some, this is support for the next generation through mentorship of social entrepreneurship. And others, we invest in their social ventures and actually help them to scale their impact. We've also worked with business and government to innovate their procurement for social impact. All of our work is informed by our research and what we have found to work. And that's actually what I want to be able to focus on today. Because what we do is we don't reinvent the wheel. Instead, we find ways to improve the wheel by changing how it's made, to strengthen it for bumps in a road towards the destination where the SDGs have been implemented, where we have actually completed our homework assignment from Professor Sachs. So let me give you an example of how you can improve the wheel for SDG 8, decent work and economic growth, by breaking down what we actually did to maximize social impact in an infrastructure project. So in Toronto, one of our priority neighborhoods was sorely in need of bike infrastructure. If you walk through the community, you'd see bikes tied up everywhere, from trees to railings and everything in between. And so what traditionally the government, or in this case, the housing agency would have done is they'd actually source the bike racks externally, which would be to buy them and go and install in the community. And to be honest, that's not bad. But the community faced other challenges, like a lack of jobs and training, as well as increasing neighborhood violence from two opposing areas of the community, and a lack of overall optimism and hope. So my team and I actually saw an opportunity to do something different, to transform an infrastructure project into an opportunity for workforce development. So we actually put SDG 17 into practice at the local level by creating a P3, a public-private partnership with labor, to instead train and hire at-risk youth from the community in skilled trades. And in SDG terms, we actually targeted 4.4 by developing their local youth capacity. For the community, by the community. They built it themselves. And we actually took it even further. We work with the community to co-create and co-design the bike racks so that they're more than just functional. They're actually public art that tells the story and the values of the community. We work with them to locate the bike racks because who knows better where best to put them than those who will use them. And if you remember how I mentioned there was, two opposing neighborhoods, there's this road that actually divided them, that people in the community would refer to as the Canada-US border. Well, we had youth from both sides of this border working together on this project, building bridges within the community, focusing on 16 with a focus on peace in the community, as well as building bridges between them and jobs and employment. So quite fittingly, the resulting design was a bridge. More than just building infrastructure, we created art. More than just another job, we built community pride and ownership. And more than just a one-time project, we brought enduring hope to the community. Hope for themselves and hope for their future. Hope for what I actually now know to be a more fraternal and supportive community. And all of this by changing how the wheel was built. I want to give two quick examples. Things that you can do, whether you're a business, a not-for-profit, or a government agency, on how you can innovate your procurement for social impact and advance SDG 8. Take, for example, catering for a meeting, catering for this. Instead of going to a large chain restaurant, why not choose a social enterprise that provides opportunities to a marginalized community? In Toronto, we have something called Newcomer Kitchen that provides surplus kitchen capacity to Syrian refugee women that we've welcomed to Canada. This not only provides income for their families, but it actually also gives them a chance to come together and socialize, which has benefits for mental health and well-being, SDG 3, as well as just building the community more broadly. You need coffee for your office? Who do you go to? Have you thought about supporting a social venture like Toronto's Clink Coffee that provides youth with a criminal record for a non-violent crime the chance to train, work, and learn important retail and customer service skills? These are all examples that have proven to work in Canada. And the rest of my speech actually goes further into tangible examples on how we align interests of what initially was divergent interests and convince untraditional allies. Tactics like targeted messaging, storytelling, etc. But actually, I'm going to leave it to those who are interested to read that at your leisure. And for those joining us online, our transcripts will be made available online if they aren't ready. Instead, I actually want to take this opportunity to take up Professor Sachs' offer to help us navigate challenges, as well as to leverage the immense expertise we have in the room on a challenge that we've been facing in Toronto, and on a solution that hopefully you can help us to scale. So we've been quite successful in increasing localization of infrastructure projects, most of which are government-driven. An example is we have a light rail transit project, $8.5 billion. We secured a 10% commitment from the private consortium that the jobs would be hired locally from priority neighborhoods along the actual transit route. But this is an outlier rather than the norm. And that's because local benefits for projects, if driven by the government, can sometimes be contrary to international trade law. That's the challenge that we're facing. How do you reconcile that so that we're supporting our most vulnerable communities while also respecting international trade? That is one of the foundations that really connects our global village. So I ask you, everyone here, to actually really help me figure this out. How can we create decent work and support our most vulnerable communities and ensure that no one is left behind? Thank you.